There we go. In order to simplify a rational expression is basically just a fraction. So first I want to simplify a fraction. Let's say we have the example 32 over 48, and we want to simplify this. Our first step we would want to do is we would want to factor this. We want to factor it completely. Okay, so that means I'm going to take 48 and 32 and I'm going to break it down. I can break down 32 into 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And I can break down 48 into 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So remember, when we're breaking something up into factors, I don't know if you can see my little dots there. When you're breaking something up into factors, you're breaking it up into numbers that you can multiply together to become 32 or to become 48. Okay? Then from here, if we have something that's the same in the numerator and the denominator, an entire factor, then we're able to cancel it out. So we can cancel out the 2's there, they cancel out, they cancel out, and they cancel out. We have a 2 left over on the top, a 3 left over on the bottom. So that means that 32 over 48 simplifies to become 2/3. Okay, that's the premise of factoring. So we factored it completely, and then our second step was to simplify. Basically simplify by reducing. So let's do that same kind of example, but with, make that A, but with an actual rational expression where we have a polynomial on the top and the bottom instead of just a number. So we'll use negative 4x minus 4 over 20x squared plus 28x plus 8. So again, the first thing we do is factor the numerator and factor the denominator. So I'm going to do that down here on the bottom. Our numerator, 4x minus 4. When we're factoring, our first step is to look for the greatest common factor, which we have. Our GCF is technically a 4, but because we have a negative in the front, we always factor out the negative if there's a leading term that's negative. So we factor out the 4. We have x plus 1 left over, and that becomes our numerator. Okay. Then we do the same thing for the denominator. We go ahead and factor 20x squared plus 28x plus 8. I'll move that up so we can see it a little more. Again, first step is we look for our GCF. Here, our GCF is, let's see, I can definitely divide them by 2, but I can also divide them by 4. So our largest, our greatest common factor is a 4. So I'm going to go ahead and factor that out. Remaining, I have 5x squared plus 7x plus 2. And that makes the number significantly smaller to work with. So again, I'm going to have my factor line here on the bottom, so I don't need to drag the 4 down with us the whole time. Identify our A, B, and C as 5, 7, and 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and multiply A times C, 5 times 2 gives us 10. Identify B again, B equals 7. So we're looking for factors of 10 that add up to become 7, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Okay, our signs are going to be the same, and they're both going to be positive, so we're good with that. Which one adds up to become 7? The 2 and 5. And that's how we expand our trinomial. 5x squared, and then we can either put plus 2x plus 5x, or we can switch it. So I notice that I have a 5 in the beginning and a 2 in the end, so I want to put the 5 first. But does it really matter? No, it doesn't. You could have written it as 2x and then 5x, and you'll come out with the same answer. So now we have 4 terms by expanding that middle term, right? That's where that came from. Because we have 4 terms, we're going to go ahead and group. We have a plus in the middle, so we're good to go. Our GCF of our first group is 5x. We're left with x plus 1. Our GCF of our second group is a 2. Again, there we're left with an x plus 1. When we look at these two terms, here and here, right, we can go ahead and factor out a GCF of x plus 1, and we're left over 5x plus 2. So that's our factored form of our denominator, numerator, denominator. So now we're going to take that, we're going to put it back up to the top, back together up there. Negative 4 times the quantity x plus 1. And then down here, 4 times the quantity x plus 1 times the quantity 5x plus 2. So this step is equivalent to this step. Now we can cancel. So what do we have that's the same? What factors, meaning entire parentheses, do we have that's the same? Well, I have an x plus 1 in the numerator and x plus 1 in the denominator. So that cancels out. I also have a 4 and a 4, right? Now the numerator has a negative 4, but we're just going to we'll cancel the 4. So what are we left with in the numerator? The negative. And it can't just be negative nothing, it has to be negative 1. And in the denominator, 5x plus 2. If you want to put a parentheses around the 5x plus 2, you can, just to remember that it's a factor, but it's not needed because we're now completely simplified. And that is how to simplify a rational expression. And a quick review on factoring a trinomial, as well as factoring out the GCF.